Kind of had some random stuff we were going to talk about for that first episode was awful. Absolutely terrible. I actually had a friend of mine, her nephew just went back and watched the very first episode.
Oh, goodness.
Of the podcast. I said, don't start there. Please, God, don't go back to the first one.
I'm going to watch it now.
Oh, man, don't. It's so bad. But that's the thing, though. It started out horrible.
Yeah.
But you don't know that at the beginning. You think, hey, this is pretty cool. You just got to keep going, though.
What's good, everybody? It's 99 Miles Per Hour Podcast with me, your host, Percy Garner. And today we have a different type of show, but I'm very excited for it. And hopefully you get some value out of the show. Today we're going to be talking about how to start your own podcast, talk about a lot of the experiences we have had. Obviously, this is going to be episode 85 on the 99 Miles Per Hour Podcast. But Josh here, my producer, also has a podcast of his own. Well, he used to have two. He has a podcast of his own, and he's also produced over 15 other podcasts for other organizations and companies in our community. So we're going to share our experiences and our knowledge and try to get you a podcast up and running and talking about the hardware we use, equipment, the software, and just all the things that go into making your own podcast.
Casa, make yourself at home, do your do. Welcome to my pad, this your lab, go create your move.
This episode is brought to you by Subway. Now, of course, this podcast is made possible by the Fitzgerald family and Subway, so thank you for supporting our channel. And make sure you guys like and subscribe. We're still on our way to 1,000 subscribers. Help us out, get there, give us a thumbs up. That'll help us in the algorithm. We're trying to get in as many eyes as possible. That sounded bad. We're trying to get in front of many people as we can. We don't want to get into anybody's eyes. But yeah, without further ado, let's get into, our show here. And, we have Josh All, who is usually a producer. But, he got out of the producer chair today, and we're going to, pick his brain because obviously, like I said, I've done 85 episodes on this show, but, Josh has done a lot more episodes overall. So he's also got a successful podcast of his own called Dogs. And sorry if I keep, jerking you a little bit. Oh, my gosh.
What an introduction.
Naughty minds.
An introduction.
No, anyways, I was messing with him. He's playing producer still while he's in the chair, and I keep acting like I'm going to go to him, but we are. So, Josh, how are you, man? Oh, my gosh. How are you?
I'm good, man. Nothing like opening up with a good laugh.
Yeah. And, without you, man, I do want to, obviously, I feel like I say this a lot, but I'm very, very just grateful to have, because I was listening to Think Media and they were talking about, Sean Cannell is the main guy. And he's like, I love the success I've had, but I didn't have any success by myself until I got this full team around me. So obviously putting this podcast, you were the one that kicked me in the butt to get it started. And, I'm just appreciative of what you do for this show. And looking forward to hearing, your expertise and your knowledge on getting a podcast started. But I kind of, before I even get anything off of what my agenda holds here, I kind of want to just get what made you want to just go, hey, I'm gonna do this podcast thing. I want to make some content, and it's something I want to do. And, I'm just going to get after it and execute and not do what Percy was doing and procrastinate.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't exactly my idea entirely. I got the idea from, first of all, just listening to podcasts. I kind of got away from listening to music when I used to work at my desk. I had a cubicle. I was working every day, and I'd listen to music, and then I started listening to different podcasts, and then I started listening to more podcasts and more, and I'm like, man, these are just interesting because I can learn stuff.
Yeah.
I can take in knowledge and information, and it's not just the same, 15 songs over and over all day or whatever. So
gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
I like it. Me, I had always wanted to make content from tech YouTubers that I've watched. I've just always wanted to make videos on YouTube and be a YouTuber, even before YouTuber was like an actual saying or a job description, or a job title, I should say. And I was like, oh, I love tech. This would just be great. But, how do I do this? How do I do this? And now, where we're at now, obviously with COVID and everything, it made podcasts kind of take off. And now that I'm doing YouTube and I've got 85 videos up, well, technically I've got over 100, including shorts and clips of the show. I feel like I've, obviously I still only have like 380 subscribers, but I feel like I've accomplished so much, but I also get in a rut, so, and I'll speak about that a little bit once we get down the line. But, again, I want to say, thank you to Subway for making this, podcast possible. But before we get into our, cause kind of our highlights is, the basic things. This isn't going to be super in depth. We're not going to give you tutorials on how to work the piece of equipment unless this video gets a lot of positive reaction. And then I might go deeper into it because that's more, my area. Josh just does it. He's not like super nerdy like I am. And I try to bring him in the nerdy conversations on some of the solo episodes I do. And, he gives an opinion, but
you don't get a whole lot of feedback.
Yeah. Well, I feel like you get deeper into sports, which I know I was a professional athlete, but you and the guys on the Dogs podcast, you guys dive deep. So that's a little bit different. If I had my choice, I would just nerd out on tech. But I just like
but you do have your choice. You could nerd out on tech if you wanted to.
I have in some episodes, but I haven't got much good response on those. But I think starting a podcast it may sound a little overwhelming, but once you get started, it's really not that bad. And I lucked out having a producer where I could just sit and talk and know that everything's going great behind the scenes, behind the camera. Not everybody has that, but it's I've done live streams where it's just one man show, and it's not as bad. You don't have to have the best quality ever. Now we don't have the freedoms to just do whatever we want, like Joe Rogan and stuff like that now, because he's been doing his podcast for 20 years or something. I don't know how long he's been doing it, but you still have to be strategic. And, that's kind of haunted me a little bit because you guys have a niche with the Browns, the Dogs podcast, because you talk about the Browns. And me, I kind of just interview whoever I want to talk to and whoever I think is interesting and want to learn from. But I'm having fun, but I guess we should probably get into what this podcast is about, and that's how to start your own podcast. So, I guess I was gonna say, obviously there's things you want to do. You want to have an idea, a topic of what you want to do, get a name, and also thinking about, what niche you want to drop into, and then also what equipment you need, what software you need, where do you want your podcast to be hosted, and we're gonna dive into details a little bit. But I kind of want to know, how did you guys come to the Dogs podcast? Because obviously people are like, the Browns, where do you get that? If you're not from Cleveland, they might not know why the Dogs existed, the dog pound and all that. But I know for picking a name, for me, you helped me. I can't really decide on or answer that question, how to pick a name, because you were just like, I was just going to call it the Percy Gunner Show, and you're like, no. so how did you come up with Dogs podcast, and what made you dive deeper in through the surface and say, hey, we're not naming your show Percy Garner Podcast?
Well, first of all, the Dogs it's not really an in-depth story, but it just shows you how easy it is to start a podcast. The other host, Blake, who we went to school with, I literally just texted him one day and said, hey, you still follow the Browns pretty close? And he's like, yeah, because it'd been a couple of years since I talked to him. And I said, you want to start a Browns podcast? I got some gear and just looking for some stuff to do. And he's like, yeah, okay. So seriously, he had two other guys that he was friends with. They had only met each other once. I'd never met either of them. So we all got together on night one and sat down and said, hey, we're all Browns fans, so let's just talk about the Browns. We kind of had some random stuff we were going to talk about for that first episode. Was awful. Absolutely terrible. I actually had a friend of mine, her nephew just went back and watched the very first episode.
Oh goodness.
Of the podcast. I said, don't start there. Please, God, don't go back to the first one.
I'm going to watch it now.
Oh man, don't. It's so bad. But that's the thing though. It started out horrible.
Yeah.
But you don't know that at the beginning. You think, hey, this is pretty cool. You just got to keep going though.
Yeah. And fight through the quitting excuses and all that stuff and the burnout. You just got to keep going through all that, because if it's obviously something you want to do and have fun with, because that's the way I looked at it. It's just like, okay, I'm not looking to it'd be nice, but I'm not looking to go, you know what, this is going to be, a side hustle. I'm going to make money off of this. I was like, hey, you know what? I want to make content, and wherever it goes, it goes. Now you guys have obviously grown over 4,000 subscribers, and it was kind of quick. It was real quick. But
it was and it wasn't.
Well, yeah. I mean, you guys started and it wasn't quick then.
Right.
But then you kind of just caught fire.
I will say, because, you did mention, right, that I've produced other podcasts for other people. Yeah, you said that. And what I found is once you get to about that 10 episode mark is when people either push through and keep going, or they kind of, this isn't working for me, and they taper off, which you're not going to see results after 10 episodes. Yeah. There's no way. Yeah. You have no following. It's still probably your mom and an aunt, if you're lucky, listening to you. And they're not even listening to the whole episode. So you just got to keep pushing through. And it took us we started in March of 2020. It took us all the way through the 2021 football season, through the Super Bowl, right after the season was over and all that stuff, until we hit 100 subscribers. Oh. And we were pumped. I mean, we were jacked. We're like, 100? Yes, we can get our own URL. Like, it was awesome. I mean, that was a big deal. Yeah. It's like, but we can't get monetized till we hit 1,000. I was like, are we going to do this for 10 more years to get to 1,000? Is this how this is going to go? And yeah, no, actually. And after we hit that 100, I think it was up through the draft, maybe? I think it was up through the draft.
Yeah. I want to say your big one was a free agent video, right? Your first big one?
Yeah, we had a free agent video that went over 22,000 views on YouTube, and it was just a clip from one of our episodes, which was crazy. And yeah, so we got up through the draft of 21 and into kind of like that preseason, in the summer, and we hit 1,000. It was like, where all these people come from all of a sudden? And then from that time until now, which has only been a little over a year, we've added 3,000 more. Yeah. So the growth has been exponential, not, constant or whatever. So it's been pretty cool.
I mean, it's also amazing to I appeared on I think the live stream, the first draft. Stream.
Yep.
And it's just amazing to see someone from, our area, have some success in YouTube. And it, you obviously, you being involved, and Blake it's just kind of funny because I never knew Blake would be into that type of thing, but I guess we never knew that we'd be into content creation here. So
I tell you what, he's really good at it too. Though.
Yeah, he is. He's the host, right?
The main host. Yeah. I mean, the thing is, whenever I
guess you guys are all hosts.
Whenever I bought this equipment and said, we'll start doing podcasts, I wasn't planning on ever being in front of the camera. That wasn't my intention. I thought, well, I'll do this and I'll help other people, because I like to do the editing. I like the video editing, the audio stuff, the music. Like, I like playing around with that stuff.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Being in front of the camera and the microphone, that wasn't really my thing.
Your planned thing, but now you're forced.
You get used to it for sure. You definitely get more comfortable.
Yeah, and I could tell. Obviously, I don't know how I look really on camera that much. I don't watch myself, but I listen on my walks. So I take walks in the morning and I listen to the episode to make sure I didn't say anything stupid. And but I can tell just how you speak and carry yourself on camera. It gets better over time, and your camera presence gets better, and that is more, I guess, a part of the growth section, which we may get to. Obviously, I haven't had much success with my podcast locally. A lot of people listen, but I know on Spotify I've had over 1,000 downloads, and for me that was great. I don't know what my Apple stuff is. I just know I only pay attention to YouTube, and my YouTube numbers aren't where I want them. So I'm still going to push through. I don't have any intention on stopping, doing my podcast, but I might do some other content. I don't know if I'm going to do it on this YouTube or not, but I guess that's all down the road. I kind of get carried away. But another thing that you want to discuss after you pick your name and think about your topic and what you want to cover, the thing you want to think about is your format. And I know there's, people who interview, there's Zoom or virtual. And we've done some of those, and you do a great job to make it not really look like a Zoom call. But it's very easy to get started. You don't have to make it look professional like you make it look. But there's several ways in several different formats. Well, I guess probably more than several now that podcasts have blown up. But I've always leaned towards the one-on-one interviews. And I've also liked the way like I Am Athlete and other people have done it where it's more laid back and they've got, they don't have the professional headphones and microphone in front of them. It's more of like a casual conversation between friends. And I like that format as well. But then there's tons of other formats that we hear, a lot of people, when you're educational or covering a sport, there's different formats you can do. So it's all down to kind of figuring out, okay, how do you want to format your podcast? And you don't have to stick to one way. Okay, this is how I have to do it. It's your show. You can do what you want. But I think it's probably, you guys have stuck to a similar format for most of obviously you've done some live streams, which is a little bit different, but.
Yeah. And things have changed over time. At one point we were doing, hour and a half long episodes and those are okay, but And like you said, you can do whatever you want with your podcast. It's your podcast. There are no regulations. If you want to do 2 hours and 30 minutes episodes, go for it. If you want to do 12, whatever you want to do, you can do. But you also, what we found is you got to take the audience into consideration. And it just seems like the videos that we put out that are under that 1 hour mark, I don't know what it is. If it's a visual thing when somebody looks at a video and sees the timestamp, how long is this video? If it's got that 1:something after it,
they're like,
those views seem to be a little bit less than if it's like 57:16. And they're like, okay, it's less than an hour. I don't know why. I think it's a mental thing, obviously. But
as a consumer too, I consume a lot of YouTube. I have YouTube Premium because I forgot. I was watching YouTube on somebody else's phone and an ad popped up. I was like, what? YouTube has ads? Because I forgot all about it because I've been on Premium for, 6 years. But I just think it's something that it's pretty unique, and it's something I enjoy. And I feel like if you get involved in a podcast and you're only thinking about, okay, end goal, I want to make money and I want to become have my podcast become a big famous podcast. I don't know how that is going to serve you or your audience. Cause like you said, you got to take audience in account. Mm-hmm. And I kind of do that, but I also want to make my content, but that's something you have to wrestle with. And for you guys have involved your community like a lot. You've got, merch stores. And speaking of that, I forgot to mention my merch that I'm wearing. So I'm wearing the Push shirt. I don't know if you can see it with the microphone, but Push, if you aren't aware, this stands for Pray Until Something Happens. And this was one of the things I lived by when my mom was fighting cancer. But all the proceeds from my merch store go to a Dover student in a scholarship so they can help pay for some of their college tuition or books, whatever it may be. And I have a new home for my store. And it's very simple because it'll also have podcast shows there, and you'll be able to get to anything Percy Garner, anything 99 miles per hour. You'll be able to get there from this new website. And it is easy. PercyGarner.com. That's PercyGarner.com, and everything will be there. I would appreciate it if you went and supported this channel by, like I said before, like and subscribe, and also going to my merch store. And give me some feedback, too, in the comments. If you like some of the shirts, we got different stuff. We have the Push shirt. We have the 99 miles per hour shirt. And I just updated the logo. So if you have a Push shirt already, you were part of the founders. But I've also made some other sayings that I like. There's a one shirt that is, because my wife was like, hey, make some shirts with some of the stuff you say. Because I say a lot of garbage. But I say a lot of stuff that substitutes, so I don't curse. I just say a lot of dumb stuff. And one of them is Baylor Beach. And if you're not from this area, you don't know what Baylor Beach is. It's just it's not really a beach, but it's a very small outing that we like to do. It's like a little pool, and it's got some jungle gyms and stuff, but it's pretty fun. And I got some other things too. So you can go check it out, percyginer.com, like I said before, and help out at Overstudent. All right. Now I got that out of the way. Where were we? No.
You got the agenda, man.
I got you. But so we've got that taken care of. And but I was talking about, you guys having a merch store and communicating with your community. And I think building a community is important. It's not just like, hey, here's my shows, watch them. Like, you got to provide value. And that's what I try to do. I try to bring on guests that I think can provide value. Maybe it's a tool, a way of thinking, something that a book they read, whatever it is, and try to get them to, kind of understand how they think and how they were successful, and then maybe apply that to their own lives. Now, obviously, yours is a little bit different. You guys talk football. People love football, especially in the United States. And, obviously this area, Cleveland fans are nuts.
They are. It's funny you say United States, though, because we did start a Patreon to go along with the podcast just to try to create that sense of community. Like, okay, you got to, pay. It's like $5 minimum to join a month. But then you're in this little Browns podcast community with us, and we're talking every day. There's always threads in there. I'm getting notifications on my phone every day, all day. These people in there talking, and it's so funny how many people, there's hardly any, I shouldn't say hardly any, but I'd say over half are not from Ohio.
Really?
Yeah, we got people from all over the United States, out in California and stuff, like down in Tennessee. And then we have people from Ireland and the UK, and there's the president of the Browns Backers Club up in Ottawa, Canada. I mean, it's crazy how many people we get from all over the world.
That's crazy.
Like, you guys are listening to our podcast? Like, it's
and imagine, you're only at 4,000 subscribers. Wait till you get to 100,000.
Yeah, it's funny because there's a local movie theater up about half hour north of here, and Blake went to see a movie with one of the other guys from the podcast last weekend, and he said somebody standing in line turned around and said, "Are you guys the dogs?"
That's awesome.
And he's like, "Yeah." And the guy's like, "I watch your show every week."
That's what's up.
So that was pretty cool.
That's rewarding. Obviously,
yeah, for sure.
A lot of times, I know you weren't looking to become a celebrity because of your podcast, but I mean, that shows that you're providing a value and some entertainment for Cleveland Browns fans. And also there's some back and forth from other fans that follow other football teams, like me, Pittsburgh Steelers.
We get a lot of Ravens fans coming in, but it just, honestly, they trash talk and garbage talk all up and down the YouTube comments. But it's fun.
Yeah.
Like, we dive in there and go at them, and then all the other Browns fans are chiming in. And I think, obviously, if they got upset about it, the Ravens fans, they wouldn't come back. Yeah. Every video we post, they're in there trashing the Browns. And it's just kind of, we know their names. We call them out on the show. I mean, it's pretty fun. Awesome. But that's another thing, too, that I want to make sure I mention is, like, especially with YouTube, be in the comment section with people that are commenting. Even if it's just like hey, thanks for checking out the show. Just, let them know that, hey, I saw your comment. I'm responding to your comment. That makes them more likely to come back. And the comments help with the algorithm too, right? Yeah.
Interaction, engagement, all that stuff. Not just likes, and the longer you watch videos too helps. So that's all good. And I'm glad we got to touch on community because obviously you guys have a great one and you're continuing to grow it. So now I want to kind of talk about, my favorite part, and that's the equipment, the software and hardware that's involved. And not only our podcast, because I've also done like Twitch live streams, playing video games and stuff in front of a small audience. And the equipment I've used there, it's pretty interesting. And we haven't applied it to our setup here. Because I mean, I was convinced that you guys didn't have a great podcast setup until I came and saw it, and I was like, "Oh wow, okay, you guys know what you're doing."
Yeah, well, we didn't. Number one, at all know what we were doing. We were figuring it out, and it wasn't this.
Oh, true. This is definitely developed over the years. So it's crazy to say over the years.
But it has been.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I guess the obvious thing you need. Because audio is very important. I love video, but most podcasts are consumed without video, just through Apple Podcasts, Spotify, the Google Podcast, whatever podcast app you use, the dogs and the 99 miles per hour will be there. But that's kind of up to you and your preference. But having good audio is very important, because people can sit and watch a low resolution video, but if your mic is, peaking really high or whatever the word is I'm looking for, people aren't going to stick around for that.
Well, what causes you to turn off a video first? Poor quality of the video or poor quality of the audio?
Yeah, for sure, audio.
Because you can look elsewhere and still listen, but if that sound is bothering your ears, you're going to turn that sucker off.
That is true.
Right now.
And if you don't have YouTube Premium, because I have YouTube Premium, so I go to all watch video podcasts, but if I turn my phone off, it still goes like it's an audio podcast.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't have YouTube Premium and you're watching a video podcast and then you turn your phone off, it's stopping. So that was a little tip that you guys didn't know. But yeah, so microphones, including this one, they have gotten cheaper over the years. Now, I would say most podcasters use, I'm going to start throwing out,
the equipment. That's all you, man.
Yeah, the equipment numbers of these things. So the Shure SM7B, you've seen it. Radio hosts over the years. Big time Twitch streamers use it. Other podcasters use it. Even Michael Jackson, when he recorded the Thriller album, I think in 1983, was using that same microphone.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So it's very good. It's more than double the price of these microphones. I think it's around $400. But you don't need to go out and do that. There's USB microphones that plug directly into your laptop, or whatever you're using. There's also, we have an XLR microphone, so that's this plug. Obviously, it doesn't look like a USB, but XLR plugs into our interface, which we'll get to in a minute. But this microphone was only $100, and I get compliments because I have one of these at my house. So when I'm playing video games and people hear me speaking, they're like, "Whoa, what microphone are you using?" So I get compliments on this microphone all the time. And it was only $100, and then there's tons of things you can put it on. Obviously, we have these mic arms here. You don't have to do that. You can just get I think we have one around here, but
we've got mic stands over here. They're like, anywhere from $15 to $50, whatever. Whatever you're looking for. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was obsessed with these mic arms, so I'm glad that they haven't been here. So, but there's ways you can get the mic, and you just want to make sure that there's different types of mics out there, so you can research, dynamic and all these different types of mics, because this is a dynamic mic and we have to talk into it. But if you go get like the traditional Blue Yeti USB microphone, that is not a dynamic mic, and that will pick up any sound. If you have a daughter or something in a whole different part of the house, it can pick her up. And I've went through those pains because I used to have a Yeti.
Yeah, these mics have been really, really good because, we'll have times where it's storming right outside the building, and it's thunder and rain hitting, and we can hear it real loud here, but you can't hear it through the mics.
And they look cool.
They do. They look.
They look cool. I saw a YouTuber that was reviewing these, where he was showing his setup, and he had the pop filter on it. Oh, because these come with a little. They come with a little pop filter, so the plosives don't just blow out people's ears. But there's also like another pop filter you can put on that makes it look like a traditional microphone, and it just looks so bad. And me, I'm all about aesthetic.
I know you are. Yep.
So I think these are pretty much top notch. I would never, if I'm buying a mic today, if I didn't have the access to these mics, I'm buying one of these, because Rode, they're a big player in the audio podcast arena. Speaking of that, besides the mic, Rode also is what we use for our interface that can accept our XLR plugs here. And they take all the audio, and you can actually record it, but we have it plugged up into our laptop, well, Josh's laptop. And that allows the computer to get the sound, because the computers don't have these XLR plugs. But that's called the Rode Procaster Pro. And they actually just came out with another one called the Rode Procaster Pro 2, and I just saw a video on that today, and it's pretty interesting. But you don't need to go out and buy the best equipment anytime it's released, even though the companies would love for you to do that. This Procaster is probably going to last forever until we decide to upgrade, or Josh wants to upgrade. But it does way more than you need. All you need is a device that will accept your microphone input, so that your computer can use software to record it. It's very simple. What do we use? Adobe Audition?
Yeah, I record with Audition. Yep.
Yeah. So Adobe, I'm sure you guys have heard of Adobe. I don't use Adobe because I'm cheap. I use DaVinci Resolve, but Adobe is the industry standard for professional sounding video, motion graphics, pretty much everything. Adobe's got, photo editing, Adobe's got it all. But that is the Procaster works with the computer and Adobe to accept this microphone input. And actually, you can record directly from the Procaster if you put a little SD card in there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So the Procaster is pretty much amazing. I don't remember how much that cost, $400 or $500.
Yeah, I think it was probably closer to 1,000 actually.
Really?
Maybe.
Oh. Well, don't listen to me.
Yeah,
I'm not going to say any prices. Let's put it
this way. It wasn't more than that.
Yeah, this is a good time to say that links to all the equipment we use will be in the description. Even if you don't buy anything, use one of those links and then go to the product you want to buy from Amazon. And that will go to help us because we are Amazon affiliates. And that will go to help this channel. And so if you want to do that, you think about buying the equipment, starting your own podcast, go down to the link in the description and we'll have every piece of equipment there with the link. Click it, buy it, and thank you. But other than that, I mean, what else? I mean, we have all these cameras and we started on iPhones.
I definitely wanted to point that out.
Yeah. So like he said, he said, hey, Blake, you got 2 other friends. Let's start a podcast. And I know we started my podcast on phone. Did you guys use iPhones when you guys started Two Dogs? So
yes,
you got to be creative and use your resources that you have, and you don't have to go spend thousands of dollars on equipment. Now we've grown, so we've been doing this for over 2 years. Well, my podcast is over 2 years.
Yep, it's been over 2 years.
April was the anniversary. I got to start doing anniversary episodes. April was 2 years, and I have only one camera. So this camera is mine that you're seeing me on. This is a Sony A6400 with a Sony 35 millimeter lens. And this is still my talk. Josh is like, wait, what?
I'm like, just don't make me explain what my camera is. You can do it.
Yeah, I'll explain that one. But so my camera is my baby. I love it. I might buy another one eventually. And I think it's pretty amazing. And Josh's camera is a Canon. And that is, I want to say, M50, a Canon M50, and he's got an even better lens. And we're not going to talk about the stuff about the lens because it's going to end up taking forever. And I think we have to actually record the Dogs podcast after this, so we can't go too long. I actually probably should hurry up. But so we've got the Canon M50, and then we got 2 other cameras that's being used. That this one camera gets us both in the shot. So yay. But we've grown to this. We didn't start out with all this high-tech equipment, and and it's hard because I love it. So yeah, it killed me to record on iPhones. iPhones are great, but once you look through a professional lens, then you're just like,
yeah. But I think that's a big important note to make for anybody who wants to start a podcast, because when I first started doing podcasts, I started doing it for the church. We kind of did just a summary recap of every Sunday message, once a week. And we didn't start with any video. It was just the audio stuff.
Okay.
And the only video ended up being, what we started out with yours was just a thumbnail on the screen with some audio waveforms with the audio behind it.
True.
There was actually no video component. And it really seems like we were toward the front of the video podcasting or vodcasting, whatever they're calling it.
Yep.
And every podcast that I've started since then has had video incorporated, but not everybody starts out that way.
Yeah. We're in a world of video now, though.
We really are. And I think it is, like you said, even if it is just your phone, you throw up and then you sync it, the audio of the iPhone with the audio you record, whatever, just do video. It doesn't have to be great. Just start something. Start somewhere.
Exactly. Because I love YouTube. But yeah, and I would say the next thing I want to talk about, because we talked about equipment, but I could go down the rabbit hole of all this stuff, and we don't need to do that. Actually, before we go, I want to say the lighting. So lighting is very important when you're using cameras, and iPhones especially, because they don't have big sensors and they're not professional video cameras. So, Amazon has super cheap lighting. I think they've got a brand called Newer. They've got a lot of lights on there, and they have a lot of affordable selections on Amazon that you can go through. And we'll have some links down for Amazon lights too, if you want some lights. But yeah, that's enough for equipment. I think. I feel like we've captured pretty much everything. We got laptops, iPads, and we've got our cameras all hooked up through HDMI cables to what we use. I guess we should talk about this Slingbox real quick before we move on to where you should host your podcast.
Right.
So Slingbox is really, or Sling Studio.
Sling Studio. Yep.
Slingbox is, I think, TV, but
yeah,
Sling Studio is like a wireless solution to do this. So Josh right now is able to change cameras on the fly without having a device with all the cameras plugged into it. Obviously, you see his iPad right here. And he's doing a great job of that. I think. I can't see what he's doing. But
I don't know. We'll find out after this goes out.
We will. But it's pretty amazing. And I'm always about quality, and I feel like you need hardware stuff, but this is obviously proves that you don't. There's many solutions out there. And if you want to live stream, there's many solutions out there to live stream, whether you want to live stream to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, whatever, you can live stream your podcast as well. And there's tons of equipment out there to live stream. And we haven't really done that a lot. You've done a couple with dogs, but I haven't dabbled in the live stream. Most of the time the guests don't want to do it. But
I'm going to make you at some point.
Okay. I'm down. I want to do it in here because I know my setup is easy for me to do it, but I would want to do it in here and see how that goes.
I will say my favorite part about doing a live, especially on YouTube, is the comment section.
Yeah.
Because when people start jumping in and then you see those comments just start to flow, it's like, this is pretty cool. People are actually interacting, and then you can talk back and forth or address some of the stuff.
Real time.
Yeah. And then they start talking to each other, and
and then the fun begins.
Yeah, it gets a little out of hand, but it's all good.
It's all fun and games.
That's right.
So somebody gets hurt. No. And then I want you to talk a little bit. So now that we've got the equipment, how to record and do all this, you need a place to put it out on every platform, because I think it's smart to make sure you choose a hosting service that allows you to put it on Google Podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, any podcast app out there, because there's tons of podcast apps. So you want to make sure it's out there on all of them. And we use Captivate, correct?
Yes.
And Captivate was one of the early, I guess, companies in the game. But there's I'll name other ones. I don't know much about them. I just know other bigger YouTube channels use Buzzsprout. I said that kind of weird. Buzzsprout. There's Podbean. These names are hilarious. There's Blueberry. And there's Anchor. Anchor, I think, is one that you can use from like an iPhone or an iPad if you want a super minimalist iPad setup or podcast setup. But so Captivate, you pretty much have your own like website for your podcast.
Yep. And
then it takes an RSS feed, and then it sends it out to like all the platforms that I've mentioned before. I don't want to say all 85 of them again. But the big ones, the major ones. And I think it's cool. That's another section where you want to pay attention to the comments, because people can leave reviews and ratings, and you want to make sure that you give them a shout out or something on your show to show that, hey, I care and I appreciate it, and you're very, you're grateful. So, but is there anything I missed with Captivate?
I mean, Captivate, the reason I went with that originally is because it allowed me to have multiple shows.
Okay.
Under my account. I didn't just have to have one show per account.
Oh, that would be crazy. Yeah, because you use Get Level, right?
Right. Get Level Podcast Network is kind of the overall host, or, from my end. Mm-hmm. And then all my shows that I've ever produced, I publish under my Captivate account. But what I really like about Captivate over the 2 years now I've been using it is they're constantly updating it. They're adding new things. When I first started using it, they didn't have a way to insert like ads into your episode. You had to do that manually on your end, or with your software editing. But now, like, I could pre-record sponsor advertisements and then just load them into Captivate and say, okay, at the beginning of this episode, I want to throw this one. At the 10-minute mark, I want to throw this one. Yeah. And then I can go back and actually update them. So say it was a Father's Day ad running on my last 3 episodes, and now we're past Father's Day. I can say, well, get rid of that Father's Day ad. Let's throw the new ad. So if anybody listens to the last month's episode, they get the new advertisement, not the old one.
True.
So it's stuff like that I really really appreciate
the
upgrades.
And maybe the next episode we'll do where we get into monetization and how you can do that, because we've been able to monetize our channels without having 100,000 subscribers plus. So I think that's very, very important thing to do, and make sure you're exercising all the avenues. But one thing I also wondered while you were talking about that, the different ads and stuff, the Podcaster Pro, going back to the equipment, you can actually have like ads where you can click a button on the Podcaster Pro and it'll play one. So if you're not doing a video, because that would look weird if you're just sitting here looking and you play the thing. But if you're doing audio only, you can have like something that corresponds with your community. So if you have like a little meme or an audio clip of, Blake saying something funny or you saying something funny that correlates to the audience that your community will know, you can always just refer back to it.
Yeah.
And
it is nice.
It'd be good. It's a nice little soundboard feature on there too as well. So
yeah. And it's obviously you got the simple things like you can just, if you need to hit the applause button, you can hit the applause button or the fart like I just did. So
exactly.
Right.
And, I haven't got to that level, but I might see how, my Elgato Stream Deck can come in here and correlate, or if it even can. I don't know if it can, but I would like to, have an opportunity to do stuff, but that's more for live streams. But anyways, when you're trying to choose a hosting service, just look at what best suits your current situation and maybe have some future proofing. So obviously Captivate showed that it was going to update and stuff. So we've been doing it. We're happy with it, right?
Yeah, I am thrilled with it. The one thing I will mention too, though, is if you try a hosting provider, you don't really like it, or you're like, this doesn't have everything I'm looking for. Maybe I'll try a different one. You can move your RSS feed from one hosting provider to another.
Okay.
It's not hard to do. I actually had to do it with the dogs because we got picked up by a football podcast network.
Okay.
And we represent the Cleveland Browns on that network. But in order to get our payouts, and the sponsor right now for the network is DraftKings, and to get our payouts each month, all the shows had to be on Megaphone, which is another provider you didn't have listed, which is good. I wanted to mention.
Yeah.
But Megaphone's another one. So I had to actually move that podcast and the RSS feed and everything, all the episodes, over to Megaphone. It took about 3 minutes.
Dang. So, okay. Sounds like an easy process.
You can move back and forth. and if we ever leave that network, I'm coming straight back to Captivate with my show.
Okay. Awesome. Well, I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yeah.
And but yeah, all this, it may seem overwhelming, but we learned as we went. We didn't know everything right at the beginning.
Still don't know everything.
Yeah, and I think it's best. And a lot of big YouTubers, a lot of people who have been in the content creation game, they all say it. Do not wait for a perfect situation. Just get going. And like I said, like I alluded to earlier in the show, without Josh, I might not even have started yet, to be honest. I might not have episode 1. Instead, I've got 80. This is 85. So
yeah,
I feel like, obviously I'm not where I want to be, but the fact that 85 episodes have been done and I have kind of like a catalog,
you do,
so to speak.
Yep. And now you've got the experience of doing podcasts and interviewing people. And,
it's just fun.
It is fun, but that's my number one for anybody who wants to start a podcast. Just do it. You don't, like you said, it doesn't have to be a perfect situation. Just start.
Yeah.
You'll figure it out along the way. If you've got the motivation and the ambition to figure it out, you'll grow. You will look back on your first ever episode and you will hurl a little bit in your mouth. And then anytime someone tells you they went and listened, I listened to your first episode. Oh, you cringe and it's like, please go listen to the most recent one. Yeah. It's better, I promise.
Yes. And we're still learning as we go. I pick up stuff from different YouTube channels, different podcasts that I listen to, and then I put my spin on it and try to add it to this. So
absolutely. Don't try to recreate their wheel. This is how the entertainment works too.
Yeah.
Go the stuff you like to listen to and watch, like you said, try to find a way to incorporate the same types of things into your show. Make it your own, but it's innovation.
Yeah. But if you really want to go, balls to the wall and really grow your subscribers, your podcast downloads, you want to really kind of create something original and something that you can do that not everybody else can do. If you can add your little spin on it, that would be great. like the dogs. So, but without me continuing to blabble on, maybe we'll do a part 2 to this, and we'll talk about monetization. And I know there's other resources out there, but I thought it was important that let's get this out there and let's help other people get their podcasts off the ground, because obviously I want to say 2020 was like the year of the podcast. So I encourage you guys to just get going, start your podcast, and maybe we'll check them out. If you already have a podcast and you're watching, link it down below and I'll check it out. And, I'll give you some feedback on what I think your podcast could use, or like, dang, it's better than mine. You're doing great. But I also think it's good to mention that I would personally appreciate it if you would like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And also, leave a comment. If you don't have a comment to leave your favorite emoji. Keep it clean. And I guess we'll see you next time. Make sure you check out the website, the new website, percygarner.com. And check out the merch there. And until then, we'll see you next Tuesday. Peace.
I got a crib out of water. Say me casa su casa. It feels like Casablanca. Shawty, you my little mama. I got a crib out of water. Say me casa su casa. It feels like Casablanca. Shawty, you my little mama. She be on that Henny. I like that Corona. I love her smell.